So today we're going to dive into a book called The Fix-It Shop. It's a story that promises a pretty shocking look at corruption and the justice system. But as we're about to find out, the story behind the story, well, that might be the most unbelievable part of it all.
I want you to just think about this for a second. What if the very system that's supposed to protect you, the one you're told to trust, was actually rigged against you from the start? That's the terrifying question right at the heart of this story.
All right, let's start at the beginning. Our story kicks off with what seems like a simple accusation, but believe me, nothing here is as simple as it looks. So picture this. You've got three teenage boys. They're from a pretty rough neighborhood, and life's already tough. But then it gets a whole lot worse when they get hit with a false accusation of theft. And the reason they're being accused, well, it's way more sinister than just stealing something. See, this was never really about theft. That was just the cover story. The real problem was that one of these kids stumbled onto something he was never, ever supposed to see. Hard evidence of a secret police operation. So what exactly did he find? Filming equipment for a sting operation. Yeah, it turns out the local thrift shop was really just a front, a setup by law enforcement to catch people trying to sell stolen goods. By finding those cameras, the kids basically threatened to blow the whole secret operation wide open. And faced with that kind of threat, the system didn't just bend the rules, it shattered them. Suddenly, these teenagers were up against a full-blown conspiracy, and its only goal was to shut them up for good. First off, the judge assigned their case, yeah, not exactly an impartial observer. She had actually lived in their neighborhood, she knew them, and she already had a pretty negative opinion of them. So getting a fair trial, that was going to be a serious uphill battle right from the very start. And this wasn't just one bad apple. No, the whole thing was systematic. It wasn't just one false accusation. During the trial, these boys were hammered with a whole bunch of other made-up claims, all of it designed to make them look like criminals and just completely destroy their credibility. Oh, and it gets so much worse. To make absolutely sure the teens were silenced, the shop owner himself framed them. He literally planted marijuana on one of the boys and then started a smear campaign to make them all look like drug addicts. I mean, let's be clear. This was a deliberate, calculated effort to ruin their lives. But just when it seems like all hope is lost, that's when the whole conspiracy started to fall apart at the seams. So how did it all unravel? Well, it all started with that accidental discovery of the cameras. That's what made the shop owner panic and launch his crazy plot to discredit the kids. But in court, under pressure, his whole scheme just imploded. And in the end, the teenagers were exonerated, cleared of every single charge. And here it is, the smoking gun, the shop owner's own words, confessing to the entire thing. He admits he went after them, not because they did anything wrong, but because they found his cameras. What a dramatic, crazy end to a terrifying ordeal. Wow, it's a powerful story of injustice and, finally, redemption, right? But hold on. This is where our entire explainer takes a very, very sharp turn. Because you see, the entire foundation of this incredible tale, everything we just talked about, rests on this one little claim, printed right there on the cover, based on a true story. And that, well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because when you start to dig just a little bit deeper, that true story foundation starts to look pretty shaky. So here's where it gets really interesting. On one hand, you have the book's claim to be true. But on the other, you have a reviewer who flat out says the story comes across as completely fictional. Now, they admit there might be some elements of truth in there, but they ultimately conclude, and I quote, "I do not really believe that there was too much truth to it." So the takeaway here seems to be this. As a piece of entertainment, as a thrilling story, it absolutely works. It's compelling, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. But as a factual, true-to-life account, well, according to this reviewer, it's highly, highly questionable. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. Whether it's fact or fiction, the Fix-It Shop definitely taps into some very real fears we have about bias and corruption in the systems that are supposed to protect us. So does a story really need to be literally true to speak a powerful truth? I'd love to know what you think. Thanks for joining us.